central and western United States. It breeds in Kansas. It's a little more common to the western part of the state. You get in, you start heading west, you know, and you get out where it's a little more open, and you see a nest in a low in a tree, you know, along the interstate or something. Chances are that's going to be a Swainson hawk because they nest a little bit lower. So they're actually, you know, and they also go up into Canada and breed too, but they winter almost exclusively down in Argentina. Now, what's cool about this guy is that during the breeding season, he'll eat like any other hawk, mice, snakes, you know, occasional birds, but then once he's done breeding, he turns his attention to insects mainly. Hey, come on in. You missed all the good stuff, but come on in. So he eats mainly insects, and during the non-breeding season. Now, there's only been one documented case of nesting here at Cheyenne Bottoms, but we get a lot of them coming through here in the fall during migration. In fact, you'll probably, when you go through a farmer's field in October or something like that, you see a lot of birds sitting out there or circling over when the farmer's disking up his fields and stuff. Chances are those are Swainson's hawks because they're after those insects. So our high count here at Cheyenne Bottoms is in, you know, during migration time. Can't tell you anything about populations at Cheyenne Bottoms. We don't have enough observations. It's mainly going through here during migration. You know, that one peak is that 100 birds, you know, seen. Somebody actually put that on eBird. So, but the Swainson hawk, I want to let you know though, is declining overall. It's a bird that you know, likes big open grasslands, but it's very vulnerable to insecticides. Remember, I just said he eats insects when he's not breeding, particularly grasshoppers. Down in Argentina, where it winters, in 95 and 96, 6,000 to 10,000 birds were killed because of pesticides. Now, fortunately, the Argentine government recognized what the pesticide was, and they banned that. So this is one of the birds that, you know, when you think about the large birds of prey, you know, he ends up eating the insects, highly vulnerable to pesticides and habitat loss. This is the red-tailed hawk, and this guy, we're going to spend a little time on him because a good friend of mine, Bob Gress, once said, you know, 9 out of 10 hawks that you see are going to be red-tailed hawks here in Kansas. And actually, somebody told me that when we were on the birding tour. I remember that. And she said, yeah, Bob Gress says 9 out of 10 are going to be red-tailed hawks. And I said, yeah, unless it's a Swainson hawk that we're looking at. But during the year, except for this time of year, you know, because we talked about those northern harriers coming down in big numbers, this is clearly the most common hawk that we have. It will breed up in Canada, but it's a resident throughout the United States. And those northern populations in Canada come down here. And again, find Kansas is a wonderful place to spend winter. And that's why we'll go here for a Cheyenne Bottoms from, let's say, an average of 30 birds to, you know, 117 birds or something like that. So we've got a lot of birds coming down from the north to spend the winter here. Now the population is doing great. Not only here at Cheyenne Bottoms during the Christmas bird count, but overall, it's a strong, stable population. Now, I love hawks, but the red-tailed hawk, and I'm not trying to say this is bad, but he's kind of like the pigeons or the starlings of the hawk world. He's well adapted to whatever human changes we've created throughout the landscape. You give a red-tailed hawk a tree, a field, and some grass along the ditch, and he can make a good living out here. So that's why they're very common. They're very adaptable. They eat everything. They eat mice. They eat snakes. They even will go after carrion. And especially this time of year, it's got to be one of their favorite times of year because, you know, the deer hunters, you amazing. There's this is just a dark face, but there's actually almost one that's almost pure black, called the Harlan's Race. It nests up, mainly up in Alaska, and actually comes down here in the wintertime, throughout not just here, but the Great Plains. So we see dark ones. We see, a couple weeks ago I saw one that was completely black with a red tail and a red head, reddish, and it was the most beautiful bird I've ever seen. There's a field guide out there that describes 39 different plumage variations of the red-tailed hawk. So, good luck at times. If you're just beginning to look at hawks, good luck. Here you see, this one here. And Dan, I want to apologize. Dan Witt provided most of these photos, and I didn't put your name on all of them, so I apologize. But here we see one that's got kind of, bolted light color there. It has the true red tail on it. Here we got one that's probably doesn't have as much white on it. He has a white face versus a dark face. These guys down here are young ones. Typically, the red-tailed hawk doesn't get its red tail, if it's going to have a red tail, till it's a couple years old. But they got this. So there's just a huge variation in plumage, and that's one that's I'm asked most about. So best I could say, 9 out of 10 birds out there are going to be red-tailed hawks, even if they don't look like ones. The Ferruginous hawk is a hawk of the western United States. It breeds, and it's only a permanent resident in the western states. It will move up into Canada a little bit. During the wintertime, a few will move out to the east into the Great Plains and to the southwest. So we get just a few Ferruginous hawks out here. They eat rabbits, ground squirrels, and one of their favorites is prairie dogs. So keep that prairie dog part in mind. The Christmas bird count shows a declining population. In fact, the Ferruginous hawk is declining over its whole range. The main reason because of that is because of loss of prairie dogs. They really key on prairie dogs, and we've lost prairie dogs and we've lost large expanses of grasslands throughout the western United States, throughout the country. So the Ferruginous hawk is declining. Now again, we're only talking 6 birds at the most, but 1 or 2 here usually. Almost every year we get 1 or 2 come to Cheyenne Bottom. So it's a bird that has, and we'll see some other birds that really rely on prairie dogs, and because the prairie dogs have declined, so have some of these birds. It's a big bird, So if you're going to see a red-tailed hawk, you see something that's a lot bigger, and for the most part, white underneath, white under the wings. That's going to be the Ferruginous hawk. Now here's the rough-legged hawk. And this is going to be the other hawk that you might get confused with the red-tailed hawk. But the reason it's called the rough-legged hawk is you notice this one, the feathers go all the way down to the feet, unlike the red-tailed hawk. Don't pay attention to him because he's not here during the wintertime. But we're talking about the wintertime. He's a rough-legged hawk comes down. He's the one that breeds again way up in the Arctic Circle, but he actually comes all the way down into most of the United States and spends the winter. And this bird eats mainly just mice. He doesn't, when he's down here, he's going after mice. So he's a really good bird to have around. Again, remember I told you about these northern populations, how we have huge fluctuations because it depends on really what's going up in Canada and what the populations. That's what we see here. It's huge fluctuations in the population from year to year. It's a good stable population. They're way up north, up in the Arctic Circle, so there's nothing right now that's negatively affecting their habitat. But their populations fluctuate from year to year down here. We get, as you remember that one slide, so we get 28 during the Christmas bird count. Some years we don't get any. And when Scott says he saw a rough-legged hawk, that's pretty cool. Because we don't get that many some years. So. Okay. What's this? That is golden eagle. These are the big boys. Golden eagles. The golden eagle is a permanent resident for most of the western United States. It will move up into Canada to breed during the breeding season. And then that insects, and eventually into the fish population and other birds, mice and stuff. It kind of worked its way up, and concentration got greater as we worked up that food chain. It really hammered the bald eagle. We banned DDT. It's not banned down in South America and stuff like that, but for the bald eagles, we banned DDT, and huge conservation efforts.